Introducing the Current Affairs Workbook. It is an activity-driven learning comprising summaries, quick facts, MCQs, true-false statements, mains practice questions, and ethics case studies, consolidated into a comprehensive workbook. Dive into our monthly magazine summary, a concise overview capturing key insights, events, and trends of the month. Unlock the power of our Quick Facts block, your rapid reference toolkit with essential facts, figures, and critical statistics. Experience our dynamic activities like MCQs and true-false statements to subjective questions and ethics case studies that refine your analytical thinking and articulation skills. Track your progress with our dedicated self-evaluation page, your personal growth monitoring and improvement tool.
Hello and welcome to this new edition of News Today. Without delay, let's have a look at the headlines first. Impeachment motion moved against High Court judge in Rajya Sabha. Parliamentary committee presents report highlighting issues and suggesting reforms in MGNREGS. Standing Committee on Finance report recommends key reforms for Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. The Disaster Management Amendment Bill 2024 passed by Lok Sabha. FAO's first major assessment of soil global status of salt-affected soils report released. Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways organized the first India Maritime Heritage Conclave 2024. In a significant development, a motion to impeach a judge of the Allahabad High Court has been submitted to the Rajya Sabha. Let's first delve into what this means. The impeachment process is aimed at ensuring accountability and preserving judicial integrity. Interestingly, none of the 6 attempts at impeaching a judge since independence have been successful. Now let's talk about constitutional provisions related to impeachment of judges. While Constitution does not use word impeachment, it is colloquially used to refer to proceedings under Article 124 for the removal of a Supreme Court judge and Article 218 for removal of a High Court judge. Judges can only be impeached on 2 grounds: proven misbehavior and incapacity. However, the Constitution does not define these terms, leaving it to judicial and parliamentary interpretation. The procedure itself is governed by the Judges Inquiry Act of 1968 and involves multiple steps designed to ensure a thorough investigation and unbiased resolution. Here's how it unfolds. First, the impeachment process begins with a motion which must be signed by at least 100 members of the Lok Sabha or 50 members of the Rajya Sabha. Once submitted, it is reviewed by the presiding officer of the respective house, who refers it to a 3-member committee for investigation. This committee includes the Chief Justice of India or a Supreme Court judge, a Chief Justice of a High Court, and a distinguished jurist. Committee investigates charges and submits report to Speaker or Chairman with its finding and observations. Speaker or Chairman will then place report before Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. If the committee finds the judge guilty, the motion moves forward to Parliament, where both houses must debate and vote on it. Approval requires a special majority, at least 2/3 of the members present and voting, as well as a majority of the total membership of each house. If the motion is passed by both houses, it is sent to the President for final approval, sealing the judge's removal. In a critical development, the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Rural Development and Panchayati Raj has presented its report on the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme or MGNREGA, shedding light on pressing issues while proposing reforms to enhance its effectiveness. The committee identified low wages and disparity in wage rates across states as major areas of concerns, pointing out how these factors undermine the scheme's goal of providing meaningful livelihood support to rural households. Now, let's look at some of the issues related to this scheme. Wage payments, the lifeline of the scheme, face persistent delays, with states often failing to provide unemployment allowances or delay compensation, compounding the hardships of rural workers. Another concern lies in the technological integration of the scheme. While adopting technology is essential for transparency, issues related to internet connectivity, smartphone requirement, leads to exclusion of beneficiaries. Moreover, in terms of social audits, irregularities in conduction of social audits by Gram Sabha have been noted. For example, only 14% of planned Gram Panchayats were audited in 2020-21. To address these challenges, the committee has put forth several key recommendations. First, it has called for a revision of wage rates, suggesting wage rate can be linked to a suitable index accounting for rising inflation. It also recommended achieving wage parity across states and union territories in line with Article 39 Clause D of the Constitution, which guarantees equal pay for equal work for both men and women. Further, the report emphasized the need for robust financial management to eliminate payment delays, not just for wages, but also for material cost. Recognizing the increasing demand for work under MGNREGA, the committee proposed increasing the guarantee days of work from 100 to 150 days to cater to work demand as well as to create durable assets. Now, let's take a moment to understand Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme itself. This flagship scheme, administered by the Ministry of Rural Development, is a centrally sponsored scheme which provides a legal guarantee of 100 days of wage employment in a financial year to adult members of rural households who demand employment and are willing to do unskilled manual work. It is operational across the country except in districts with 100% urban populations. Moving on, a key development has emerged as the Standing Committee on Finance released its report recommending crucial reforms for the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code or IBC. Let's delve into the highlights and implications of this report. The report acknowledges that the IBC has made significant progress in improving the resolution of distressed corporate assets, enhancing credit discipline and reviving unproductive assets across India. However, the committee also pointed out persistent challenges that continue to limit its full potential. Some of the major issues flagged include competence and conduct concerns surrounding resolution professionals or RPs, a lack of clarity regarding government creditors' claims, and issues around inadequate stakeholder representation. Another critical concern is the delay in admission and adjudication process at the National Company Law Tribunal or NCLT, where nearly 64% of corporate insolvency resolution processes or CIRPs have exceeded the statutory 330-day limit. To address these challenges, the committee has proposed several key recommendations. First, the establishment of fast-track tribunals with strict timelines for high-priority cases and the adoption of an urgent list system to prioritize time-sensitive matters. The committee also suggests introducing provisions similar to Article 226, Clause 3 of the Constitution, mandating the processing of applications within 14 days. Additionally, public-private partnership or PPP models have been proposed to improve judicial processes, drawing inspiration from the success of privatized Seva Kendras. Another recommendation is to ensure that NCLT members possess specialized knowledge, in line with the Supreme Court's observation in the Finolex Industries case. The committee also emphasized the need for clearer guidelines on handling government dues, especially taxes and penalties. For context, the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, introduced in 2016, aims to reorganize the insolvency resolution process in a time-bound manner. It operates on 4 key pillars: insolvency professionals or IPs who manage insolvency, liquidation, and bankruptcy processes; information utilities or IUs that store critical facts about lenders and the terms of lending; adjudicating authority or AA, with the NCLT overseeing corporate insolvency and the Debt Recovery Tribunal handling individual insolvencies; the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India or IBBI, which is responsible for specifying regulations for various processes. The proposed reforms aim to strengthen the IBC framework, ensuring a more efficient and transparent insolvency resolution process. In a major step forward for strengthening disaster preparedness and response, the Lok Sabha has passed the Disaster Management Amendment Bill 2024. To begin with, the bill seeks to amend the existing Disaster Management Act 2005, with the aim of integrating disaster management into development plans in line with the recommendations of the 15th Finance Commission. Now, let's move on to the key changes introduced by the bill. First, the responsibility for preparing disaster management plans has been transferred from executive committees to the National Disaster Management Authority or NDMA and the State Disaster Management Authorities or SDMAs. In addition, the NDMA and SDMAs have been entrusted with additional functions at their respective levels. These include assessing disaster risks, providing technical assistance, and recommending relief guidelines, among others. A significant update is the creation of a comprehensive state and national disaster database. This database will contain critical information
such as the type and severity of disaster risks and the allocation of funds. In an urban context, the bill empowers state governments to establish separate urban disaster management authorities. These will be specific to state capitals and cities with municipal corporations or MCs, ensuring a localized approach to disaster management. Another important provision is the formation of a State Disaster Response Force, or SDRF. State governments will now have the authority to constitute the SDRF, define its functions, and outline its terms of service. The bill also provides statutory status to two key committees: the National Crisis Management Committee, or NCMC, and the High Level Committee, or HLC. The NCMC will act as a nodal body for handling major disasters, while the HLC will focus on providing financial assistance to state governments during disasters. Let's not forget the foundation of disaster management in India, the Disaster Management Act of 2005. This act established a three-tier structure for disaster management. At the national level, the National Disaster Management Authority, or NDMA, headed by the Prime Minister, formulates policies and guidelines. At the state level, State Disaster Management Authority, or SDMAs, led by chief ministers, are responsible for disaster management. At the district level, District Disaster Management Authorities, or DDMAs, headed by district magistrates, are responsible for implementing disaster management plans. With these amendments, the Disaster Management Amendment Bill 2024 aims to strengthen disaster preparedness and response mechanisms across the country. It's a crucial step towards a more resilient and proactive approach to managing disasters.
In a significant step towards understanding global soil health, the Food and Agriculture Organization has released its first comprehensive report on the global status of salt-affected soils. Salt-affected soils are categorized by either elevated amounts of soluble salts, commonly known as saline soils, or exchangeable sodium ions, which create sodic soils. These conditions are measured in terms of high electrical conductivity, adversely affecting the soil fertility and growth of plants. The report identifies a mix of anthropogenic and natural factors driving soil salinization and sortification. Among anthropogenic factors, inefficient agricultural practices take center stage, including the overuse of fertilizers, reliance on poor quality water for irrigation, and inadequate drainage systems. Activities like deforestation, which removes deep-rooted vegetation, also accelerate the problem, particularly in drylands. Additionally, excessive water extraction in coastal and inland areas and mining activities exacerbate soil salinity. From a natural perspective, the climate crisis is increasing aridity and thawing permafrost, contributing to the spread of salt-affected soils globally. Now, turning to the key findings of the report, on a global scale, salt-affected soils cover approximately 10% of the world's land area, equivalent to 1.4 billion hectares. Alarmingly, this figure could rise to 24 to 32% in the near future. Among the most affected countries, Australia leads in terms of total area, while Oman tops the list percentage-wise. In India, around 6.72 million hectares, or 2.1% of the country's total geographic area, is affected by soil salinity. The states most impacted in terms of area are Gujarat, Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, West Bengal, and Rajasthan. Particularly concerning is the fact that 17% of India's irrigated agricultural land suffers from salinity due to the use of brackish groundwater for irrigation, a practice that significantly affects crop yields. To combat this growing crisis, the report emphasizes the adoption of sustainable soil management practices. On the mitigation front, methods like mulching to retain soil moisture and bioremediation using microorganisms are effective. On the adaptation side, breeding salt-tolerant crops can help sustain agricultural productivity in affected regions.
Moving ahead, we spotlight the first India Maritime Heritage Conclave, or IMHC 2024, organized by the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways. The theme of this historic conclave was towards understanding India's position in global maritime history. It was an opportunity to showcase India's maritime achievements and its aspirations to emerge as a global maritime powerhouse. One of the highlights of the conclave was the announcement of the National Maritime Heritage Complex, or NMHC, being developed at Lothal, Gujarat under the Sagar Mala program. Once completed, it will be the world's largest maritime heritage complex dedicated to celebrating India's maritime legacy. Let's take a journey through India's maritime heritage to understand its profound historical significance. Going back to the early days between 3000 and 2000 BC, the Indus Valley Civilization or IVC had established maritime trade links with Mesopotamia. By the way, the age between 2000 and 500 BC, maritime activities were referenced in the Rig Veda, marking the earliest recorded mention of such endeavors. Fast forward to the age of the Nandas and Mauryas, between 500 and 200 BC, the Magad kingdom's navy is considered as the world's first recorded instance of a naval force. Chanakya's Arthashastra even mentions a department of waterways. During the Satvahana dynasty, between 200 BC and 220 AD, the rulers became the first native Indians to issue coins with ship inscriptions, reflecting the importance of maritime trade. Later, under the Gupta dynasty, between 320 and 500 AD, development of ocean navigation and maritime trade was mentioned in writings of travelers Fahian and Hyun Sang. In the Maratha era, Shivaji's navy evolved into a formidable force, boasting over 500 ships. Meanwhile, southern dynasties such as the Cheras operated famous ports like Tindus, which is the present-day Periyapattanam, near Kochi, and Muziris, present-day Pattanam, also near Kochi. India's maritime history is a testament to its long-standing global influence, and initiatives like the IMHC and NMHC aim to preserve and promote this legacy. In today's Place in News, we turn our attention to Iran with its capital, Tehran. Recently, the International Atomic Energy Agency, or IAEA, has announced that Iran has agreed to enhanced monitoring at the Fordo enrichment plant. Let's take a closer look at the political features of this country. Iran is located in West Asia. Its land borders include Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Turkmenistan to the north, Afghanistan and Pakistan to the east, Iraq to the west, and Turkey to the northwest. It also shares maritime borders with Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia. Surrounding water bodies include the Caspian Sea to the north and the Persian Gulf and Gulf of Oman to the south, making it a strategic hub in the region. Moving on to its geographical features, Iran experiences diverse climate, ranging from arid and semi-arid to subtropical. Its highest peak is Mount Damavand, located in the Alborz mountain range. It is also the highest volcano in the Middle East. The country's major rivers include the Deis, Karkay, Karun, and Diyala, which play a crucial role in its water resources and agriculture. Iran is also rich in natural resources, boasting reserves of oil and natural gas, along with coal, chromium, copper, iron ore, lead, manganese, zinc, and sulfur.
As we conclude today's main news, let's have a look at some quick updates. RBI approved JP Morgan-backed fintech company Insolutions Global to operate as a payment aggregator. Payment aggregator is a third-party service provider that enables online payment by customers and acceptance of payments by business and e-commerce. Securities and Exchange Board of India proposed a framework to allow retail investors to participate in algorithmic trading through stockbrokers. Algorithmic trading or automated trading uses a computer program that follows a defined set of instructions to place a trade. Recently, Securities and Exchange Board of India has proposed a framework for restricted return InvITs to enhance investor security. Restricted return InvITs means differentiating from traditional InvITs where returns are directly tied to full performance of the underlying infrastructure assets. In this model, returns are structured with downside protection, a floor and/or an upside cap. Recently, the United States successfully tested the new Dark Eagle anti-missile system. The Dark Eagle anti-missile system is a long-range hypersonic weapon jointly developed by US Army and Navy. Oldest Homo sapiens DNA ever sequenced suggests interbreeding between Homo sapiens and Neanderthals roughly 50,000 years ago. Some Neanderthal genes show increased frequency in humans, suggesting their importance in survival. For example, immunity against coronaviruses, skin pigmentation. In Manipur's Hengbong village, a groundbreaking micro-solar pumped storage facility provides 24/7 power to the village. Solar micro-hydropower utilizes solar energy to pump water from a lower reservoir to an upper reservoir during periods of high solar irradiance. Recently, NASA's Perseverance rover climbed to the top of Jezero crater rim on Mars. It will now be able to access rocks, pieces of early crust that existed in their present form much before asteroids collided with the Martian surface. Mars 2020 Perseverance rover seeks signs of ancient life and collects samples of rock and regolith, broken rock and soil for possible Earth return. US EPA announces final bans on manufacture, processing and use of trichloroethylene and perchloroethylene. These are toxic chemicals used in stain removers, degreasers and range of industrial processes including dry cleaning. Before we sign off, let's challenge your understanding in today's installment of Test Your Learning. Thank you for joining us. We hope you found this episode of News Today engaging. For solutions to the quiz and to access the PDF version of News Today, please visit the provided links in the description below.